is sponsored by Augie's Locker Room. Augie's features the largest collection of Notre Dame football memorabilia and gifts, including rare and hard-to-find items.
Hey, this is Augie, Augie's Locker Room. Website, augieslockerroom.com. Visit us here or the website.
Tim O'Malley with Tim Prister of Irish Illustrated and John Brice of FootballScoop. And today is another one of those games I've labeled a human nature game. It is not hard to get up for your arch rival USC and undefeated Caleb Williams. But when you're celebrated for 2 weeks after a big victory, kind of back in the picture, especially for a Major 6 bowl, I mean, I think it could be a little bit difficult with 2-5 Pittsburgh coming in, but as we know, 2-5 Pittsburgh doesn't always play like 2-5 Pittsburgh when Pat Narduzzi and that Panthers defense comes in here.
Well, this is a home stretch, Tim, and I mean, they've had a week off. They're going to have to pull it together and be ready to play today because Pittsburgh, whether good or bad, finds ways, generally, not the last time out, not 3 years ago, but finds ways to play well against Notre Dame. The last 6 games in Notre Dame Stadium against Pittsburgh have been single-digit games. We both thought that the 20.5 seemed like an outrageous number, right. But I think that and the over-under of 44.5, I think is a reflection that the odds makers do not think that Pittsburgh's going to score a whole lot of points today.
If you put a different jersey on him, John Brice, and it didn't say Pat Narduzzi, and you didn't know the history of Pittsburgh, 20.5 probably would be the right point spread in this game.
Yeah, let's be candid here. Pittsburgh's terrible on offense, and particularly when you dive into Pittsburgh's losses against Cincinnati and West Virginia, they didn't care for the ball very well. They were extremely inefficient, and they just don't really have a lot of identity right now. When you talk to people in the ACC, they're very adamant that Pittsburgh spent way too much time this year allowing Phil Dracovic to run the offense when he was ineffective and when they felt like the guy behind him was already performing much better. There are some opponents, just a couple of them, earlier on Pittsburgh's schedule that are glad they didn't make that move yet. So they found a little bit of spark with the new quarterback, but again, this is not the same Pittsburgh team. Look, they had 6 guys, I think, drafted off last year's team. They feel like when you talk to people in the Pitt camp, they should have been ACC champs last year. So they're not the team they were last year, and I think Notre Dame has very much benefited from the 2 weeks since that USC win.
And I think there's no doubt, I was going to say this for the end, but there's no point. Notre Dame's defense is the best unit on the field by far, but also their strength is a Pittsburgh weakness. Pittsburgh does not have many explosive plays. Pittsburgh will struggle to run the ball against Notre Dame, and Notre Dame does not give up explosive plays.
Yeah, their offensive line's not very good. I think Bear, number 70, their right tackle, is in real trouble against Javonte Jean-Baptiste today. They haven't run the ball, effectively. Sebo Flemster is their best running back. He's become a pretty good running back for them. He's still only averaging 4.1 per carry. I think Pittsburgh's in a whole bunch of trouble on the offensive side of the ball. I think they could gum up the works for Notre Dame with their defense, with their press coverage. They find ways to rush the passer in less conventional ways. They don't have the defensive ends that they normally do. This looks like a low-scoring game, but I think there should be 3 to 4 touchdowns plus for Notre Dame today.
Let's talk about that press coverage because Duke's corners really destroyed Notre Dame in press coverage, but they were not healthy. Louisville's did as well. They were not fully healthy. Ohio State's did. Ohio State's got very good corners. I just named 3 collections of really good cornerback tandems, and Pitt's got a good cornerback tandem, but the Jadens should be back and fully healthy at this point after a little bit of a break.
Yeah, and with speaking to people on campus right behind us this week, over the course of the week, Notre Dame feels really good about the improved health of its wide receiver core. Specifically, they feel really good about what they accomplished this week on the practice field, pointing to Wednesday in particular as an incredibly efficient and effective day of practice, a really encouraging day of practice for people within the program. And to your point about Pittsburgh's secondary, yes, they're going to get up. They'll be in Notre Dame's faces. Notre Dame will have some shots today. Notre Dame has to take some shots today, whether that's Tobias Merriweather, whether that's one of the Jadens, or perhaps more Rico Flores as he gets ready for the start today. There will be shots there, and I know that Pittsburgh, and talking again with some people around the ACC, they're worried about Sam Hartman's ability to go through his progressions. So when they bring pressure, if they don't get to him early, they're really concerned about Notre Dame being able to gash them downfield.
We talked about taking some shots deep, and the last time Notre Dame played Pittsburgh, Ben Skoranek, I mean, he's a pro receiver, but he killed Pittsburgh deep, and that was a much better Pittsburgh defense. It was interesting talking to Jared Parker. What can you do to get the offense back on track? And really all that matters is the 5 Power 5 games. They were very good offensively against NC State, less so in terms of explosives against Ohio State, Duke, and Louisville. Showed signs last week, but Tim made the comment earlier, can they scheme their way out of a rock fight? Can they hit edges, and can they hit some deep shots? And if they do, they're going to take Pittsburgh to the woodshed.
Let's start by saying North Carolina scored 41 against Pittsburgh. and Virginia Tech scored 38 the following week. So they are vulnerable, and you do have to take shots because in order for them to pressure the quarterback, they generally have to bring those guys from the second and third level. They really like to bring guys from the third level about as much as anybody that I've seen, and that's when you want to go deep. A.J. Woods, their one corner, and M.J. Devonshire, those are good players. They are going to press, but they're going to come off the edge, and when there are opportunities to go deep with a healthier wide receiving core now, whether it's Merriweather or Jaden Thomas, frankly, I'd rather see Jaden Thomas emerge because we knew going into the season he was the leader of the group. So there are going to be opportunities there, and then maybe some edge runs too that apparently Pittsburgh is also vulnerable as well.
I was thinking Jadarian Price could be involved in this, but I keep going with another running back. Audric Estime's pretty good too, but what do you see in that realm?
Audric Estime is really good, Jadarian Price as well. I can tell you Pitt's a little bit worried about Notre Dame's speed. They feel this is a much faster Notre Dame team than the last one, and in talking with people over the last 24 hours, they made the point Notre Dame always has big receivers. They don't necessarily always have bigger and faster receivers, and they're also concerned very much about Chris Tyree. One note on Tim's point is that there are not many left, but there are a few Pittsburgh defenders left off of that team that beat Sam Hartman and Wake Forest for the ACC championship. They felt they really impacted him early, hit him hard early, and affected him. So I think Notre Dame absolutely has to keep Sam Hartman upright. Obviously, that's a no-brainer, but particularly early in the game to let him get into a rhythm.
That's it for us pregame from outside Notre Dame Stadium. For John Brice of Football Scoop, Tim Priester, I'm Tim O'Malley of Irish Illustrated. We'll be back postgame for more Irish Illustrated Instant Analysis.